flying bird. The red phone rings at 22:04 hours. State Trooper Ed Kierzwinski blinks and rubs his eyes. He spent the last 20 minutes staring into the radar monitor's screen, and now its ghostly green circle burns the inside of his eyelids. He was watching this beautiful night turn to soup. One low bank of clouds moved in from Indianapolis. The other swept north from Louisville, drawing strength from the Ohio River like a man drinks a milkshake from a straw. The two storms met at New Lebanon and spread east over Dayton, gathering strength as they approached the Ohio State Patrol helicopter hangar at Wright-Patterson Air Force Base. Picking up the red receiver, Kierzwinski hears the first raindrops hit the hangar roof. As visibility drops to 800 feet, he knows the next phone call will be from the air traffic control tower in Dayton, grounding his helicopter for the night. State Patrol, he says, trying harder than usual to sound bored. The 911 operator is new, Kierzwinski knows, but she is efficient and well trained. Car crash 3 miles north of Urbana on State Route 68. Two females, both in critical condition, request transport to Columbus Children's Hospital. Does State Patrol accept the mission? To stall, Kierzwinski takes a breath. Air Trooper 1 is a Bell 429 helicopter. Flat out, it can make it to Urbana in 9 minutes. He'd fly north by northeast, maybe a quarter mile ahead of the storm's face. Best case, he lands, loads the patients, and takes off before the rain really hits. Worst case, the storm overtakes him. He'd be stuck trying to land an underpowered aircraft on a 2-lane highway in heavy wind and rain with no radar and no lights. Kierzwinski flips the question around. Most crash victims near Urbana go to Springfield Regional, the closest hospital with a cramped emergency room. If these girls need transport all the way to the Level 1 Trauma Center 45 miles away at Columbus Children's, they must be 16 years old, maybe 17, and they're in pretty bad shape. Beside the phone, the flight radio squawks with static. Roger, Dayton Tower. This is Air Medical 3. We are leaving Springfield Regional, flying to base in Tip City, over. Kierzwinski knows that voice. It's Dale Dahmer, a pilot who was hired onto Air Medical when the private company opened its first base 2 years ago. Between his fake southern accent and his arrogance with a helicopter, Dahmer was a perfect hire for the guys who own Air Medical, whom Kierzwinski secretly considers a couple of half-wit cowboys. Well, if they can fly in this stuff, we sure can, Kierzwinski says before dropping the red receiver back in its cradle. 6 minutes later, the rotors of Air Trooper 1 are spinning. The two flight nurses, Sam Shifton and Ariel Gupta, wipe raindrops from their foreheads as they cinch down their shoulder belts. Kierzwinski pulls the throttle grip toward his knee and the steering stick into his lap, and the helicopter jumps off the tarmac. He veers east to outrun the rain. Kierzwinski takes a left turn, aims his nose for Urbana, and looks up to see the full moon streaming in through the wide screen and lighting up the cockpit. He chuckles. If he were in his car, he'd flip the sun visor down. To the left, he sees the moonlight bouncing off the storm wall. He thinks, that thing just got bigger. It's 6,000 feet tall now, with high winds pushing a knot of cloud forward from the main front like a boxer throwing a punch. Kierzwinski pulls the throttle. The Bell's nose dips, and the helicopter shudders as it reaches 178 miles an hour, its maximum speed. Urbana comes into view. Kierzwinski uses the lights of Main Street to fly right up the town spine. Looking left, he sees the lights from the car lots on the west side of town become engulfed by the storm, turning the bellies of the clouds orange. When we land, you guys are going to have to move, Kierzwinski shouts to the nurses in the back. Finally, he sees the ambulance. Kierzwinski climbs, slows, brings his tail around 180 degrees, and drops his skids in the middle of the road. Gupta shoves the sliding door aside. The ambulance crew pushes one gurney forward. Together they lift the victim into the helicopter. The nurses fumble with the straps as they tie the gurney to the helicopter floor, which is jumping like a wild horse. "We've got wind," Krasinski says. "Let's go, let's go." The nurses take their seats and Krasinski lifts off. The helicopter climbs, but slowly, fighting the storm. Krasinski thinks, I'm lifting, we're gonna make it." He sees the power line at the last possible moment. With the storm up to his back, he cannot climb any faster, and he cannot stop. He feels the impact before he hears it, and he knows he has hooked the power line with his skids. As Trooper 1 loses speed, time slows down. Krasinski pulls the stick with all his strength, hoping to break the line. The helicopter is temporarily suspended, roaring at full throttle, but motionless in the sky. The radio comes to life. "This is Dayton Tower. Please be advised that all air traffic is suspended until further." Number 1. The reader can conclude that Krasinski's competitive nature motivated him to finally enter the storm. Select the detail that best supports this conclusion. Roger, Dayton Tower. This is Air Medical 3. We are leaving Springfield Regional, flying to base in Tip City. Over. Krasinski knows that voice. It's Dale Dahmer, a pilot who was hired onto Air Medical when the private company opened its first base 2 years ago. Between his fake Southern accent and his arrogance with a helicopter, Dahmer was a perfect hire for the guys who own Air Medical, whom Krasinski secretly considers a couple of half-wit cowboys. "Well, if they can fly in this stuff, we sure can," Krasinski says before dropping the red receiver back in its cradle. Number 2. Choose 2 sentences that should be included in a summary of Flying Bird. A. The red phone rings at 22:04 hours. State Trooper Ed Krasinski blinks and rubs his eyes. B. State Trooper Ed Krasinski wakes in his hangar to a notification that he assumes will be telling him to not fly his helicopter tonight due to a horrible storm. C. The 911 operator is new, Krasinski knows, but she is efficient and well trained. Car crash 3 miles north of Urbana on State Route 68. D. Krasinski is surprised to hear that this notification is a 911 call asking him to fly directly into the storm to transport 2 young crash victims to a hospital. E. Krasinski decides to let Dale Dahmer fly into the storm instead since he doesn't like him anyway. Number 3. Read the dictionary entry. Noun. 1. A large building with extensive floor area, typically for housing aircraft. Which word best matches the dictionary entry? A. Hangar, B. Urbana, C. Trooper, D. Throttle. Number 4. What inference that can be made about the narrator's feelings toward the pilot's decisions to enter the storm? What inference can be made about the narrator's feelings towards the pilot's decisions to enter the storm? Use key details from the passage to support and explain your answer.